Good morning everybody, it's Monique from ButterBeeScraps and I'm here with another tutorial for you. This week we're going to go over how to color your metal filigree embellishments with Gilders Paste. So what is Gilders Paste? Well, Gilders Paste is a wax-based product that comes in these little 1-ounce tins. This one's a bit dried out and cracked. It does become permanent once it's cured, and you can apply it to a myriad of surfaces, including metal, wood, ceramics, resin, even polymer clay, and much more. So what you're going to need for today's tutorial is you're going to need metal filigrees, of course, Gilders Paste, you're going to want a little bit of mineral spirits, a rag, some cheap throwaway paint brushes. These have like the plastic brushes on the ends. I got them at the dollar store. Have no intention of keeping them. And you're going to want like a glass palette or dish. So let me move this stuff out of the way. I'm going to sit down and show you how this stuff works. Alrighty, I'm back and ready to go. So if you have ever used Gilders Paste, you will know that a little bit goes a very, very long way. That being said, these tiny tins can last for years. And when you got something sitting around for years, what happens? It gets old, right? Which means, I popped this one open earlier, your Gilders Paste can dry out. The great thing about Gilders Paste is you can completely rejuvenate it to like new. So it doesn't matter how dried out and old it is. So what I'm going to do is show you how to revive this stuff before we get going on how to use it. Because, well, clearly I need to revive mine before I can use it. So to revive your Gilders Paste, you're going to need obviously the paste, some metal spatulas, and mineral spirits. Now I've only got 4 colors, working on getting more. This is my favorite, and although it's cracked and a bit shrunken, it's still quite pliable. So I'm going to leave this one alone because I think I can still work with that. Not a problem. And I don't want it to be too gooey. These other two, however, this is white and cream. They are like in the worst shape. So there's a few different things you can do, and it's really dependent on how much time you have. If you're short on time, what you can do is just revive a little bit. And all you do, here, I'm going to put the lids back on these two, and I'm going to work with the cream here. All you need to do is break off a little bit, and like I said, a little bit goes a long way. You can see how dry that is. And you could just put it in the lid of your tin, or if you've got another glass dish or whatever that you prefer to work in, you can do that. And you add mineral spirits to it, and just a drop at a time. You don't want to go crazy with this. I'm just going to put that aside, and literally I'm just going to dip my spatula into it so I don't get too much. So I'm getting like literally 1 drop at a time. So you just basically cut it up into tiny pieces and work it into that mineral spirit. And you just keep working it and adding 1 drop at a time of mineral spirits until it's back to the original consistency. Okay, I think that's a pretty good consistency to work with. You don't want it too soft and mushy. And you'll notice I was working with 2 different palette knives. I just find it easier because I can scrape from one to the other. This one is also a bit thicker and sturdier. So especially when it's all chunky at the beginning, it makes it a lot easier to chop it up. So there, I mean, that only took a couple minutes, and I mean, this is more than enough Gilders paste that you would need to sit down and work with in one session, so to speak. So anyways, so that's that method. Now, if you have a little bit more time, I'm just going to put this back onto the lid here. If you have more time and want to rejuvenate your entire tin of it, you will need to let it sit overnight. What you do is you put 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of mineral spirits in the tin, close it up, let it sit overnight, and then come back the next day and work it like I just did this little bit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with my 3 that are really dried out. I'm going to add, depending on how dry they are, varying amounts of mineral spirits. For the cream, I'm definitely going to actually, this one here, I'm going to leave as is. But for the cream and the white here, I'm definitely going to put about 1/2 teaspoon in each, and I'll probably only do about 1/4 teaspoon into this guy because it's not quite as dried out. I mean, you can see how much this has shrunk down. So let me add the mineral spirits, pop the caps on, and I will see you in a few seconds, but I'll be back tomorrow to show you how to work it in. Hey guys, I am back, and I have let my Gilders paste sit for probably, I don't know, 16 to 18 hours. So now we were working with the cream yesterday. I'm gonna start with it this morning. You can see I scraped the stuff off the lid yesterday. So what you do now is, I mean, it looks pretty much the same, right? You just flip your puck over. You can see it's kind of wet on underneath there. Ugh. Sorry guys, this is awkward when it's cracked in half. And then you just basically start doing the same thing as we did in the lid. You chop it up into small pieces, mash, stir. Alrighty, I think I'm done with this tin. You could see in there, I found what worked really well is if you just kind of run your knife along the top and shave a little bit off. It really helps break up all of those chunks and make this paste a little bit smoother. You can see it is still really, really thick, but that's how Gilders paste is. So I didn't want to add any extra mineral spirits to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to do this to my other colors. And if you're wondering, between colors, I clean my spatula off. I just use mineral spirits to do that. So yeah, I'm going to pause the movie here, and I'll be back once I have everything mixed and I'm ready to show you how to use this stuff. Hi everyone, okay, I'm back and all my gilding paste is rejuvenated. I even gave this guy a bit of a stir. I added a couple of drops of the mineral spirits to it as well. I was able to mix it without waiting because it was not quite as dry as the rest. I will say though, I probably added a little bit too much and it's a little bit soft, but you know what, that's okay. You can still work with the stuff, and over time what happens? It dries out, right? So there's a couple of different ways that you can add Gilders paste to your metal filigrees, but first, before you do anything, you'll want to take some superfine steel wool and just rub your filigree in a circular motion just to give it a little bit of tooth for the gilding paste to stick to. Once you've done that, you want to rinse all that dust off and give it a good dry. Now I've already done that to all these filigrees, so we don't have to wait for that. So the first way I'm going to show you to put the Gilders paste on, and is my preference, is with my finger. And you can just pick up a tiny bit of Gilders paste and just highlight all the highlights, or just go around the edges. For this one, I'm going to use just the cream here. Just pick a little bit up and just very lightly, and like I said, I'm just going to go around the edges. Normally I would use a metallic color for this, but I don't have any metallic Gilders paste, so I'm just kind of working with what I got here. Concepts are all the same. So you can see how that really highlighted the design on that. So I'm going to set that one aside. So that's method 1. Method 2, and you guys, when you've got this stuff on your hands, the best way to clean it up is just with warm soapy water. And if you've got stubborn paste on your hands, just use a Ranger Craft Scrubby. Because I don't have a sink next to me, I'm just using a little bit of mineral spirits on a rag, which probably isn't the best thing to do. It's not good for your skin, but you know what? I'll get through it. So anyway, this next method, as I wipe Gilders paste onto my hands on the side here, is that you can apply it not to the high spots but into the low spots. And what you will want to do is take a generous amount of paste onto your finger and really work it into your filigree. This takes a bit of effort. I will show you an easier way to do this, or another way to do this, if you prefer. The pattern on this filigree is fairly raised too, which means you gotta use a little bit more paste and a little bit more muscle to get that into the crevices. And you guys, I probably shouldn't be working on my craft sheet. I'm probably scratching it, rubbing that metal on it. Okay, so now you have a decision to make. You can just leave your filigree colored like that, which is kind of cool. Like I could see myself doing, you know, a white filigree for wedding albums or something like that, right? Or what you can do is take a rag. I'm just going to wipe this off. And you don't want mineral spirits on your rag, so I'm going to try to find a clean spot on my rag here. And you just wipe it off the high spots. So we did this kind of thing with the acrylic paints, and also I went over it with the vintage patinas last week. So what you end up with is more of a patina look. So, you know, the high spots are still copper, low spots have that beautiful kind of turquoise patina in them. Now when you're working with these things, you have a pretty reasonable amount of open time. Like 30 minutes you have before these things become dry to the touch, which means that you can blend these things really, really well. Just let me wipe my hands off here. I kind of equate these like Gilders Paste blends on metal like Distress Inks blend on paper. You can create a really nice, smooth transition and get a nice ombre effect. So I'm going to use some of this reddish one, and I'm going to go over the center of this heart. And then say I wanted to kind of go more to a cream color. I almost should add a little bit more. A little bit more mineral spirits to that, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to go all around the outside with the cream actually. These pastes come in 28 different colors, so you can really have a lot of fun with them. See, so now you kind of, I don't know, I just use my finger in a bit of a circular motion. And you can see how nicely that they blend together. So you go right from a cream into a deeper red there. I hope you can see that. I'll take pictures of these filigrees afterwards as well. The other thing is, because you have an open time of 30 minutes and because they blend so well, if you make a mistake, it is easy to fix it. You can take your rag and wipe the color off, or if you can't get it all off, you can actually put a little bit of mineral spirits on your rag and remove the rest. Here, I'll show you what I mean on a different filigree. I'm just going to rub some of this in there. So say you did that and you're like, you know what, I kind of changed my mind. I don't like the way that's looking on that filigree. You could just wipe it with the cloth. Now you can see there is still a bit of a reddish tinge. Oh, look at that, I wiped it all off. Most of it anyway. But if you've got a little bit of stubborn spot, just put a little bit of mineral spirits on your rag and you can wipe the rest off your filigree and it'll be just like new. So don't be afraid to play and experiment with this, I guess. Like, it's so forgiving. I mean, it's messy and you do need to work in a well ventilated area because it does kind of stink, especially, I mean, mineral spirits itself really stinks as well. So that's about it for applying with your finger. The other way you can apply it, I'm just going to set these aside, is with a paintbrush. So I've got a glass dish here, and I've actually put a little bit of mineral spirits in the one side as well. So the first way you can apply it is you can just dry brush it on. And you guys, these are dollar store paint brushes, so they're disposable. I don't particularly care for cleaning the brushes, so I just throw them out. So you can dry brush this stuff on, and you know, this method is good. It's similar to putting on with your finger, but the nice thing about this is if you've got a filigree that has a little bit more detail on it, you can really focus that the Gilders Paste where you want it. Right, like this one, it's not really, it doesn't really matter, but you know, that shows you. Let's say, let me see, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the red. So you just wanted the red in the center. Like, try getting just that center spot with your finger. Doesn't work so well, but you can with the brush. And I kind of put too much on, so I just pulled a little bit off with the rag. Okay, another thing that you can do, and I'm going to use this rose, is you could take a little bit of your Gilders Paste and put it onto your dish there. And I might just use the patina color again, so I'm going to put a little bit of that here. What you do is you just pick up a bit of the mineral spirits and mix it with the Gilders Paste, and you can create a bit of a paint out of it. And you can make it as watery or thick as you want. And then you just, I almost wish I had a softer brush. These have plastic bristles, which doesn't make it super easy to apply nicely. So there's that. Oops, got a little bit of the red there. I guess that's another thing I should mention too, is because this stuff has a working time of 30 minutes, you can blend colors. See that? So that's like a combination of this red and the patina. So say I wanted to go around the outside with that. So you're not just limited to the colors that you have. Okay, now, I'm not a big fan of that, but anyways, I'm just demonstrating how you can use it. Now you have a decision to make. You can, again, just leave it as is, or use your rag to remove some of the top stuff and leave the crevices colored. See, like I prefer that much better to just the solid color, but that's just my preference. But you can see the nice patina. Let's look at the difference in how this patina turned out. Personally, I like that a little bit better. Now, the third way that you can use these as a paint, so we've gone over dry, make it into kind of like a paint, but you can also make a bit of a wash. Actually, I'm going to use white this time. Get a clean brush here. And basically with a wash, we went over a wash with the vintage patinas last week. You just add more mineral spirits to it, so it becomes really, really thin and a bit translucent. And this is good if you want to tone down the color of an existing filigree, or if you just want to add a faint bit of color, or if you just want a more subtle patina effect. Probably should have taken more of the Gilders Paste, but so anyway, it just gives a lighter, more subtle color. I know white on bronze doesn't look very subtle, but see, you can wipe off a little bit. Like I said, this stuff is really forgiving. So that's kind of more of a wash. Once you guys are done your filigrees, they do have to sit for, well, if you let them sit for 30 minutes, they become dry to the touch. And at that point, you can choose to buff them. And what it does is, now the non-metallic patina or Gilders Paste will dry matte. So they'll be completely not shiny. If you wait 30 minutes and then buff them, they'll actually get a light shine to them. The metallics just look glossy when they dry, and then if you buff them off, they look they give more of a gilded look. So that's after 30 minutes. Then in order to fully cure this stuff, you have to wait 12 hours. At that point, it becomes permanent. And if you've got pretty good tooth to begin with on your filigree, you can theoretically just leave it as is. I personally would recommend to seal it anyway. I mean, things are going to rub up against it. It gives a better, more long-lasting finish. And you can do that with any spray sealer. I have this, this is just a Varathane spray. This is a satin finish. You can get matte finish, you can get glossy finish. Oops, sorry guys. So yeah, I just do 3 really thin coats, let it dry, and your piece is good to go. So anyway, I hope you guys learned something from this tutorial. I hope you go and have some fun with some Gilders Paste. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.